You are listening to the Manument Podcast. My name is Casey, and I'm here with my buddy Glenn Johnson, investment advisor and founder of Jabez Financial right here in the Uncasville area. All right, Glenn, you ready to get into some retirement talk today?
I am, and I'm looking forward to it.
Let's do it. Let's jump in. We have seen some wild swings in stocks so far this year. So when things get volatile, how risky is it to try and time the market? Well, wealth advisor Lauren Sprung tells Yahoo Finance that you do not have to look that far back to find out.
If you look at it, most down and up days are clustered together. Since 2000, if you invested in just the S&P, you averaged 9.8% return. But if you just miss the 10 best days over that period, just 10 days, your return goes to a negative 12.5%.
And that's on an annual basis.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So trying to time things and going in and out, it's not that fruitful, especially most people are not professional traders that they can time that really effectively.
So, Glenn, can you talk to us about why market timing is even more dangerous for somebody close to retirement than for somebody, let's say, still in their 30s?
Yeah. And actually, I'll tell you, now is actually one of the most dangerous times in the last 100 years to be retiring. You know, because risk happens before the accident. After the accident, now it's just cleaning up the pieces. So we're at the verge of potentially experiencing that accident, so which actually increases the danger now. And there's so many examples of how attempting to time the market never works out for the long run. I mean, using the market is a long-term environment. And just because you hold an investment and keep it for a year and a day, and so it qualifies for a long-term capital gain, that doesn't make it a long-term investment. Mm-hmm. And then when you're taking withdrawals out, let's look at it this way. If you're taking withdrawals out of your investments, whether it's on a monthly or annual basis, if you're pulling income out of the market, you are timing the market. See, when you're in your 30s and investing for retirement, you're putting money in the market. It's going to be there for decades. And what matters then is your time in the market. How many years, how many decades is your money invested? The time in the market makes a difference. But then when you go to take it out, you don't want to have to be, the closer you get to retirement, the closer you get to taking withdrawals out of the market, the more and more you are timing it. And that's when we have to realize our income that we're taking out on a monthly and annual basis, we want to have that coming from a source that isn't contingent upon market increases or declines.
Mm-hmm. So when we talk about market timing, it's not just about numbers on a screen. It's really about when in your life those losses happen. So can you explain to us why a major downturn early on in retirement can be so much more damaging than one that happens, while you're still in your working years?
Yes, exactly. Let's say should a market crash happen early in retirement, number one, it is far more devastating than for somebody who's in their 80s and the market crashes. Here's why. If the market crashes early on, now your starting point is a lot lower, and that's when you're taking withdrawals out. So if the market drops, you have to pull money out, you're selling at a low, and you no longer have the time to recover. I've got a great illustration of this here in the office, and so should you have a chance to take a look at it, it's really remarkable. Because it makes such a big difference. If you take the money out when the market's down in the beginning, it just destroys the source of income later in life. I like to look at it this way. Think about, you remember the crash of 2008 and how terrible and how devastating it was? Well, that was 18 years ago. And for most of the people listening to this show, it really wasn't that bad for them. And I think about it now, it was bad for me too. Shoot, in 2008, I owned 3 homes and an office building, and I had one house that I sold for $150,000 that had previously appraised for $285,000. So yeah, there was some real world things where people took losses. However, as bad as it was, it didn't change my lifestyle at all. In fact, it didn't for most of you, because you still woke up in the morning, you still put gas in the car, you still went to work. Your daily routine didn't change much at all. You just got your 401k statement and you saw that it got cut in half and you didn't like it. And you knew, well, at least I got to wait this out. But it didn't change your daily routine. And so with it not changing your daily routine, with it being 18 years ago, it kind of lost its sting. We kind of lost the memory of it. But I'll tell you what was different. It was different for the people that were walking into my office for the first time in 2009, who had just retired or who were recently or just retired or planning on retirement or had recently retired. Well, for them, 2008 had real world consequences, and it was devastating. Vacations canceled. Home improvement, remodeling plans delayed indefinitely. New car? Not now. It was devastating for them because now they had to start taking income out of this money. And we have an opportunity now to get ahead of it. Because just like in 2007 and in early 2008, I was pulling my clients out of the market hand over fist. And you know what? In 2009, they were thrilled. And the writing was on the wall then, and it's on the wall now. So I can tell you that the time to prepare for this is now. There are things you can do in advance that will protect you from a major market decline, and that'll significantly change how you live in retirement. You don't want your retirement plans to change just because of a market drop.
So, Glenn, you're saying the time to prepare for this is now. So what are some of the things that people should have in place before a major market drop so that it does not completely derail their retirement? What do we need to be doing right now to prepare for this?
Well, first, you could start with looking at the assets you have and look at the allocation models you have. And are they invested in vehicles that, should the market crash or should the market correct as it so desperately needs to, how much of an impact will that have on your current holdings? Are you running the risk of losing 20, 30, 40, 50% of your investments? Now, there's investments you can get into that aren't subject to those kinds of losses. There's investments you can get into that will profit from a declining market. So being positioned before things happen makes all the difference in the world. Some people are going to lose half their money, and some people may even double it.
So as people are listening to us right now, how can they tell if they're exposed to this risk? What are the warning signs that their retirement plan might be too dependent on market timing?
Well, it's not so the market timing has to do with when you're making the withdrawals. But then there's the market risk, whereas it's simply put, if you have a traditional portfolio of ETFs and mutual funds and stocks and bonds and equities or debt instruments, those are all, or commodities, or investing in Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies or gold. Gold's in a big bubble. Silver's in a big bubble. I mean, going back since 2009, gold's doubled, silver's tripled. So we were in a commodities bubble, an energy bubble, a tech bubble, a real estate bubble. When you have exposure to all of those things, all of them are subject to a significant correction. So unless there's some stop losses in place or the principal is protected, there's things people can do to make sure that they don't lose during this next correction. And those are some of the conversations I want to have with people, because a lot of times people don't understand the extent of the risk that they're exposed to. It's funny, people will come in, they'll say, yeah, I understand the market could drop 5, 10%, maybe even 15%, but it comes back. But I'll tell you, when you put a dollar figure on that, if you've got $1 million and it drops 10%, you lost $100,000. That's a lot. So we don't just want to look at the percentage of a drop that we're losing, but we'd want to look at the actual dollar amount. So even a 20% drop, 20% drop on 500 grand, again, it's another $100,000 loss. Those are the things we want to take a look at. How much risk are you actually exposed to? And what are the things you can do to make sure you don't participate in that kind of a market decline? This is why I invite you to come in and have a conversation with me. Let's have a conversation and talk about what it is that you have and see how things can be better allocated. I'm sure I can say with absolute certainty that you will feel so much better about what it is that you have and be better positioned so you don't have to look to what's going on in the market with any kind of worry, fear, concerns, or anxieties, because you can be properly positioned to take, no matter what happens in the market, to be able to take it in stride. So give us a call at 860-288-9977 and pick a time to come in and get on my calendar and introduce yourself. And I'd love to hear your story.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Manument Podcast. Make sure you subscribe wherever you get your favorite podcasts so that you never miss an episode. And we will see you next time. Take care.
Investment advisory services offered through Jabez Financial, LLC, a registered investment advisor firm. Registration is not an endorsement by securities regulators. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance products, including annuities, offered through Glenn Johnson, Connecticut Insurance, license number 4628409. The firms are separate entities. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company and are not offered by Jabez Financial, LLC. Read your contract for restrictions, limitations, or penalties. Jabez Financial, LLC is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Jabez Financial, LLC is licensed in your state, please call 860-390-0093.